Hello everyone and welcome back to Nostalgia Kicks, the series that kicks you back in time to some of your favourite shows, movies and media to give you that little hint of nostalgia that you may have long forgotten. In today's episode, we're going to be talking about why you should watch Kotaro Lives Alone. So, Kotaro Lives Alone is a comedy slice-of-life anime series which also deals heavily with drama. Although starting off as a manga series, it was eventually made into a 10-episode anime back in March 2022. The series follows a young 4-year-old boy named Kotaro Sato, and, as you would have guessed it from the title, Kotaro happens to be living alone. Now already, just from that, hearing a 4-year-old boy living alone sounds like a great idea for an anime. What crazy hijinks is he going to get up to? How will he afford to pay food and rent? How will he cook food for himself? Why is he living alone? Where are his parents? Well, everything does get answered if you watch the show, and if you did just ask any of those questions, that's already enough reason as to why you should watch the show. But carrying on, we do also get introduced to other characters in the series as well that will kind of be mentors and guardians to Kotaro. We first meet his next door neighbour, Shinkarino, who's a lazy manga artist who likes to be left alone. However, once he meets Kotaro, he kind of takes it upon himself to look after him and care for him, kind of like a big brother. We also meet another character, Mizuki Akitomo. It's another neighbour who happens to live in the same building as Kotaro as well. She also happens to befriend Kotaro because at first she thought there's no way a kid can be living on his own, but after learning that he is indeed living on his own, she decides to befriend him and just sort of always be nice to him, show him how the world can be super friendly no matter what you've got going on in your life. And of course, the last character we're going to talk about as well is Asami Tamaru, who is also another neighbour of Kotaro's. He's a divorced man, and he isn't on speaking terms with his own son due to his ex-wife, so because of that, he decides to become sort of a father figure to Kotaro and treats him like his own son, and just gets really happy whenever he does anything, basically. Now, throughout the series, we do see many different sides of Kotaro. For example, right at the start of the anime, Kotaro's shopping for himself for tissues, and the lady in the shop hands him a box of tissues for children. However, he wanted adult tissues because he's now seen himself as an adult because of the fact he's living alone. So he goes and grabs a few boxes for himself, but then also, in the exact same scene, he buys himself a toy sword to protect himself from enemies, which shows that he's an adult on one side, but he's still obviously a child at heart as well. Like, the series instantly kicks off with some of the most heartwarming scenes ever, just in the first few minutes of it starting, such as Karino helping Kotaro wash his hair in the bathhouse because he got some soap in his eyes. And so instantly you think, okay, this is a sweet, wholesome anime, it's just a guy who's seen this kid living alone, he wants to help him, wants to be there for him, so he's going to wash his hair because he doesn't seem to be able to do it on his own without getting the soap in his eyes. And you think that's super sweet, but then you're hit with the first bit of sadness, which just builds up more and more in the series. And the sadness is because Kotaro is sad getting his hair washed because he says that no one has washed his hair in a while. And already, just from that, you get a small feel of what's to come. And believe me, it does get much deeper. But just the fact of thinking that there's this 4-year-old boy who's living alone, he's come to this strange place, he's got his own house, and he's now getting super sad because this random stranger who he's just met is washing his hair, and he's only 4 years old, he's not had someone wash his hair in so long, and it makes him happy that someone's finally doing it. It just shows that it's not going to be a standard anime with just comedy and just standard run-of-the-mill sadness. This is going to be something different. So throughout the series, we do learn more about Kotaro and what's going on in his life and also in his head. So you might be thinking, how does he pay for his rent? How does he pay for everything? Does he have a job? But no, he is just a child, and it does explain everything. He's got money, he does manage to pay everything, but at the same time, he is just a child, so he's not going to get a job in that sense. But it's also good at showing that kind of thing because he does show that he's an adult, and the show just has a great way of veering between him being a child and acting like an adult, but then being a child and acting like a child. So, for example, again, in the first episode, just to avoid spoilers, he finds his neighbour Mizuki on her floor drunk. So Kotaro takes it upon himself to save her. So what he does is he sees her on the floor and she's drunk and he notices something about her. So he decides it's down to him to go to the shop and show his adult side. So he wants to go to the shop, get some ice and make sure she's okay. So that is him being an adult. However, on the way to the store as well, as he's explaining everything, he manages to trip on a rock, fall over, and he starts crying.
I am not crying.
Oh, okay, no, sorry, my bad, he's not crying. Anyway, this all happens throughout the entire show. You'll see him at one point be an adult and you'll see him at one point be a child. And you'll forget he's actually a 4-year-old child at so many points just because of how he acts and how he talks and presents himself. Only for the next scene to show him acting and playing like a child. But in a general sense, I know that most people that see this, like whether it's on Netflix or an anime website or whatever, they'll see it and they'll think, oh, it's just a straight up comedy slice of life anime. However, like I said, it is also a drama, and it's probably one of the best and saddest at doing the drama genre. When it wants to be sad, boy does it work. I mean, anyone that has already seen the anime cannot tell you that they watched the scene with the balloons and didn't at least cry or shed a tear. And if they say that they didn't, they're 100% lying, because it's one of the most sad scenes from any show I've ever seen. And it just shows why it's way much more than a standard comedy anime. The thing is as well, it's quite hard to talk about specific scenes without many spoilers. I can't really tell you much about Kotaro's life in general. I can't tell you about certain scenes because it will kind of spoil the build-up and the moment to it. But all I can really say is the show perfectly balances comedy with drama. Like, one minute you'll be laughing, the next minute you'll be crying. You never know what's going to happen next, and it always hits. Like, there is not a moment in the show that there's any dull scenes at all. And the reason it's much more impressive as well is because it's only 10 episodes long. Like, within 10 episodes, you get so attached to the character of Kotaro. Like, he's just an innocent child trying to survive in the world. There's 10 episodes, but you care for him so much because he's just such a likeable character, and he's just trying to do everything he can to make sure everyone's happy. But you don't know what's going on in his head, why everything's happening to him. Is he happy? Is he sad? But all you can do is watch the show to find out. And it's 10 episodes, and so much is crammed into it, but yet it never feels rushed, it never feels stale. It's just a perfect balance of what an anime should be. And also, the fact it's such a good show and is only 10 episodes, it means you can binge it all in just a couple hours. And I know one complaint that most people would probably have is the art style of it, but I think it's super charming and it perfectly fits with the story and what it's trying to tell. Like, you can see the emotions on the faces, it's the perfect style for telling comedy, and it can also delve into the drama side as well. Like, the transitions are just seamless and it just works perfect. Like, I really wish I could talk about it more without spoiling it, but I feel like with it only being 10 episodes, anything that I want to say about it, like every scene and every moment just has its own nuance to it that you can't really explain in a video. All you can say is it is just so good. For 10 episodes, the character building and just the raw emotion that you get from every single character is just immaculate, and there's nothing quite like it that I've seen. If you can watch one scene of Kotaro talking about his life, or one scene with him just being a child and either not laugh or cry, then there's something wrong with you, because it is just incredible on how it is done. So anyway, if you want to spend just a little bit of time laughing, crying, and just having a good time at one of the most wholesome shows, then just please go and watch this. It's a beautiful adaptation of the manga, and it's one of the best anime out there, especially for just 10 episodes. So anyway, that is why you should watch Kotaro Lives Alone.